With an early victory the day before, Allied Command wanted to push the German corps and capitalise on their earlier success in the second stage of the operation. With this, they directed their forces to assault the Axis positions throughout the Halfaya Pass. The Germans were heavily entrenched through the region, and it led to an ever-changing theatre of battle. So Jeremiah, where did Sir Reginald start this portion of the campaign?
Well, after a good night's rest to recover, he was up early the next day, and it was much the same as the day before, really. I know that just after they set out from the command post, his squad was ambushed and one of his members took a hit. Again, though, the team came together with the medic laying down smoke and Reg laying cover fire to drive the enemy off. Marvellous, really.
Charlie's squad was given the task to quickly capture a couple of strategic points. As the German forces were prioritised elsewhere, they had little opposition at each post and gained a foothold quickly. As the battle evolved, it was clear that each side was constantly having to move between points to counter the enemy and secure their own objectives. The Allied forces had tried several times to establish a presence behind the German lines, but failed to cement it. To change this and help create a front line, Reg and his men were ordered to relieve another squad at a small ruin that overlooked the valley and a bridge that connected the two sides. This was a strategically important position as it could be used as a staging point for a future push. Reg's orders were to fortify and retain control of this key area, and that they did.
My father always believed that he was chosen for this mission because of the success and actions they showed the previous day. He always believed that his squad was the only one to be able to pull it off, and in a sense he was right. The Germans came after them in waves. Initially it was just infantry which Reg and the boys were able to fight off, but as the battle in the air raged overhead with bombing runs and dogfights intensifying, the point became quite pressed when the Axis forces counterattacked their central position with a second wave. It was led by two tanks, one Tiger and the other a Panzer backed by infantry. These posed a formidable threat, as the squad didn't have a great deal of munitions that could counter their heavy armour. Fortunately, though, some of the Allied reinforcements arrived to assist. Reg told me once about how they were stuck behind a small wall. He couldn't see anything until the smoke cleared, and once it did, the enemy was right in front of them.
Wow, so what happened?
Well, they opened fire, of course. I believe Reginald got one before he was hit. Nothing too serious. A quick patch-up and he was good to go. Although I don't know how much adrenaline is good for the body, as by that time I'm sure he had more of that in him than blood. Shortly after, he was struck down by an incendiary device. Again, not life-threatening, but this one did leave him with burns on his left arm that he would carry through the remaining years.
And then what happened after that?
Well, once he was up and running again, they were able to repel the enemy and with a quick clean-up had held the point successfully.
Although the Allies had held one of the strategic points against the German counteroffensive, they had devoted too much of their force to hold it, and the Germans were able to sweep behind the British troops and cut off the front lines from the Allied command post. Charlie's squad gathered together, and under Sir Walt's command, they headed back to retake those points and ensure that command had access to the front lines. The first point was held by a mechanised unit, which the Allied forces were able to overcome quickly. However, the next position that Charlie's squad assaulted was a defining part of the day's battle and the efforts of the Allied troops to take the Halfaya Pass.
War is never an easy thing, and the push from Point Bravo to Alpha wasn't without its fair share of hiccups, as I don't think anyone was expecting resistance. As a result, Reginald needed to be patched up, but as was the bond between Reg and his men, he was also there to return the favour, supporting each other through life and death. It was this mentality that the squad took throughout the war, from enlistment to its final days.
In this transition between points, Charlie's squad once again proved their mettle as they advanced as one, having one member pin an enemy and another taking a shot as they made their way from one position to the next. When a member fell, the area was cleared and then they were attended to. This was done until they reached their target. The Germans were intent on maintaining the ground they had retaken, and they wanted to continue to cut the Allies off by throwing everything they had at it. As such, they brought out one of their most devastating weapons.
Yes, apparently you can hear V1s coming and watching them sail through the air was something breathtaking. Marvelous engineering, apparently, until the engines cut out, of course, and it starts to drop. That's when you realize it's coming for you. As the battle developed, they had to retreat a little from the point, and taking a position above Alpha, it gave Reg a great vantage point to support, and admittedly, no one likes shooting someone in the back. It's not quite an act of chivalry, but well, this is war, and saving your companions needs to take precedence.
In the closing stages of the battle, and in order to hold the remaining point, Sir Walt tried to call in his own JB-2 rocket, as he wanted to clear the point of the German forces in one swoop, allowing them to retake it unopposed. Pinned under fire from the enemy, Sir Walt tried furiously to contact command and get his order through, but it was to no avail.
Yes, well, he couldn't get the blasted thing to work, could he? He tried and tried, but there was no response from anyone on the radio. I believe he found out later that the radio was damaged when he got hit by the tank shell. Bit of a shame, really, as the Germans held the point until they were given the orders to retreat, and that rocket certainly would have changed things. Reginald used to have a saying, "Luck will often save a man if his courage holds." Yes, I feel that this day epitomizes that belief. Yes.